do not listen to the audiobook. Hey guys, welcome back to another Twisted Tales review featuring one of my favorite Disney movies, but is it one of my favorite Twisted Tales? This one is Once Upon a Dream, featuring the story of Sleeping Beauty and Maleficent. The premise itself is, what if Sleeping Beauty never woke up? The first time that I read this book, I did listen to the audiobook. I think I was also listening to it while I was at work, so maybe I wasn't 100% tuned in, but I could never get over the narrator's voice, especially voicing Aurora, which is like 90+% of the POV. There's maybe a couple, no, I think only the prologue is Prince Philip, and then you get some like interludes with Maleficent, but it's Aurora's story. Aurora Rose's story, to be exact. I've heard male narrators voice women well. Whatever happened in the audiobook did not do it for me. So in my original ranking, this was much lower than I would put it now. As usual, I'm going to give you guys the synopsis so we can see what the story was trying to tell us, and then I'll talk about it because I have a lot more cohesive thoughts than I did, I think, the first time I talked about it, so let's get into it. What if the Sleeping Beauty never woke up? It should be simple. A dragon defeated, a slumbering princess in a castle, a prince poised to wake her. But when the prince falls asleep as soon as his lips touch the fair maidens, it is clear that this fairy tale is far from over. With a desperate fairy's last curse controlling her mind, Princess Aurora must escape from a different castle of thorns and navigate a dangerously magical landscape created from her very own dreams. Aurora isn't alone. A charming prince is eager to join her quest, and old friends offer their help. But as Maleficent's agents follow her every move, Aurora must discover who her true allies are, and moreover, who she truly is. Time is running out. Will the Sleeping Beauty be able to wake herself up? Okay, it's actually warm in here. We going to recline so you guys can come to me. So in this story, Maleficent as a dragon was killed by Prince Philip, as per movie. And instead of her dying, she actually lived on within Aurora's dream. And that was kind of like a hidden part of her curse and how she was able to survive and kind of turn the tails again. So immediately at the beginning of this book, when Prince Philip is going to sleeping Aurora and gives her true love's first kiss, instead of her waking up, the prince falls asleep. Go lay down. Go lay down. Hi. Oh, both puppies are here. No. No, guys, I have 11 minutes. If there's clicking in the background, it's my puppy nails, because not my puppy nails, that'd be questionable. Oh, good, laying down, very good. Obviously, for the fairies, this does not bode well, because that means something is amiss, because not only is the prince asleep, but everybody else who is in the castle is still asleep as well. So we dive into Aurora's dream at this point. In Aurora's dream, she spent the last 16 years pretty much being raised by Maleficent. So while not her actual mother, like she knows her parents are King Stefan and Queen Leah, Maleficent is her mother figure, the one that she trusts, and it was her father, King Stefan, and her mother, essentially, who turned the outside world into the terrible death trap that it is. Which means everybody else who's trapped in the castle is also trapped because this is the only place that you can live. Outside of the castle, outside of all the thorns that are protecting the castle, it's a bad world, so we don't go to the outside. So Aurora grows up thinking that her parents were evil, and that little bit of evil is inside her, and Maleficent is kind of all good and saving everybody, right? She is the savior. However, little bits of the outside start to seep in. We have the jester character who's obviously known for kind of having crazy ideas, being drunk a lot. He shows up with a bluebird's feather, which there are no bluebirds within the castle. Nothing that lively is within the castle. And he's also talking about that he went to the outside. Well, no one's gone to the outside and come back alive either. Suspicious. This kind of starts the cartwheel of Aurora's thoughts, questioning things going on. And because she's within her own dream inspirations are also like poking through. Like rabbits are extinct, but she suddenly gets these playing cards with different animals, different things that are extinct. And she can even conjure up a rabbit from her own just mind. So she doesn't know what's going on. It's not like she's been taught magic or anything. She doesn't realize that she's in a dream and she has control at this point. But she's getting snippets of the outside and she wants to question Maleficent about this. But also, we don't do that. We don't. Because we're just going to get told that we're crazy. And like when Maleficent finds the cards, of course she takes them away. So Aurora's like, oh, I can't talk about this. We can't do it. Lots of time passes. And while a lot of time is passing within the dream world, like months, it's minutes and hours in the actual world. As a result, Aurora is actually now like 18 instead of 16. So she's actually aged past the time in the present, which should in many ways make her more mature mentally. But she's very limited in her thoughts because she believes that her parents were evil. Maleficent is the savior, outside bad. What she doesn't know is a lot of the feelings that she felt throughout her like new dream life were resonant of things that she experienced when she was growing up with the fairies in the cottage. This doesn't come out to much later in the story where she realizes the connections, but she was going through some like pretty serious depression. She was just like, oh, I'm just stuck in the castle. I can't do anything. Which she was still stuck in the cottage, not being able to like enjoy people stuff or really go out and do stuff when she was being protected by the fairies. So a lot of these things mirror each other, even though they're totally different scopes. Time keeps passing, and for the most part, Aurora's weakness is inaction. And that is a large part of her personality, not necessarily not being developed, but she understands that it's her weakness later, that she just didn't take action. And that's why a lot of these events fell into place. One night after they're having a ball, because we always have balls, like once a month, we have a ball. She actually catches Maleficent killing off another lady in the court, especially a lady that Aurora was decently close to. This ain't good. But we're not going to ask questions. We're going to get the heck out of there. And in Aurora's plan to escape, she does make it to the outside. And she survives. And the outside is actually not that bad. It's kind of fun, and it's great, and it's gorgeous, and it's trees. There's there might have been some wild animals as time went on, but not right away. Outside the castle, Maleficent doesn't have that same power and control over her. So she starts wandering and she runs into Prince Philip. So Prince Philip fell into the dream. He was out wandering for a bit until they ran into each other. But he's very much a one-note character in this, where he remembers falling in love with Aurora at first sight. Aurora Rose do not. Her memories that she is aware of at this point are all what she grew up with. Maleficent. Philip was never there. So she's kind of like, no, I don't love you. And I don't even remember you. Which, of course, kind of makes Philip feel hurt. But he does maintain a very steady, supportive, happy boy personality, which not the biggest fan of. I feel like, not to say his character was too simplified, I get it. I understand how he could have fallen in love with somebody, and he's obviously here trying to save her because he loves her that much, but also I would have liked to see a bit more depth in him, like we do when they eventually run into his father later, and we kind of start unpacking his childhood. And of course the lighting situation is gonna be crazy, lighting's gonna change. They unpack a lot of stuff with Philip and his childhood and his feelings, and it's okay, we did make some progress. We did kind of give you depth in hindsight, but I still don't feel like it really added much to his present character. I don't think his present character really grew in this story. He was still playing just like the supportive, I love you, so I'm going to help you role for the most part, which not my favorite thing because he is like my favorite prince. But this is Aurora's story. I'll let it happen. And to its due, we went through so much more like really mental identity stuff with Aurora than I retained in my first reading. Also, like compared to the audiobook, like I remember Maleficent did some shady stuff. I was not really aware of the level, like the actual detail of it, but now I am, because when I physically read, I read much more closely and I retain better. She is up there with Jafar. I don't know. She might be worse than Jafar, but still, Jafar pushing the Sultan off the balcony that was bad. So the Maleficent villainy in here was much more appreciated in the read through, just because you did get the layers of it. I did feel like there were some shortcomings to, like, Maleficent's real power within Aurora's dream was isolated to the castle. Fine. And she had to keep drawing on royal blood to extend the time that she was in control, because she just needed to stay in control until midnight of Aurora's birthday in the real world in order to, like, win. That was the end game. So she's been drawing on all these different nobilities all this time, not yet using the king and queen until it was like a key moment to try and break down Aurora's resolve, which I think the move itself was very nice. Like, oh, good, you did the villain thing. However, I feel like the timing of it and the distance of it, because she killed the king and the queen while Aurora and the prince were still in the forest doing their thing, figuring things out. And it wasn't like super close to the end of the story where you're like, this is the last resort, is I have to kill the king and queen to really, like, I feel like it could have been done at a stronger time. However, because Aurora didn't have that real connection with her parents, her actual parents, maybe it makes more sense that it wasn't one of the final acts of Maleficent to eliminate them. So a large part of the story does take place with Aurora in the forest, finding herself, finding out how to get to the castle to beat Maleficent. Because relatively early on she realizes, oh wait, Maleficent isn't actually good, so I do need to defeat her. And I thought that switch as well might have come very quick. Like, obviously taking that moment of when she murdered Lady Astrid was pretty significant, but given the manipulation that she went through in the dream world for 16 plus years, I feel like it could have been longer. So as with any like self-discovery, you go through different trials. A lot of these were set by Maleficent to hinder Aurora's progress, many of which were playing on what Maleficent thought Aurora's I guess strengths, but also like how she could really defeat Aurora. And it's all very superficial, which Aurora realizes is because she only really noticed and not necessarily praised her, but Aurora herself was known for her beauty, her grace, and her song. So the challenges of getting her to dance and to sing and being trapped by fairies who are like dressing her up in all of these gorgeous gowns, which is one of those YA things where like we describe obnoxiously gorgeous dresses, but they get to do like 6 or 7 of them just as they're changing her personality. So we go through a bunch of those different trials, but with each one, Aurora is not only gaining a lot of her original memories back, and which is another like layer of difficulty, because it's like, here's the actual thing that happened, and here's the dreamscape, but these like mirrored and also conflicting feelings were really dragging Aurora down. Like, sleepy and definitely depressed is a strong character trait, which, while understandable, wasn't necessarily the most exciting, obviously not inspiring, but it wasn't terribly enjoyable to read. I don't like reading about people being sad and depressed, but it fit the character, it fit the setting. So she also learns through all these events how to control her dreams, at least a little bit at a time. They run into the 3 fairies in the cottage when they finally make it to the cottage in the forest. And they don't look exactly like the regular fairies do. They still have the same colors, blue, red, and green. I don't know why I went that in order. The fairies are actually more of her own inner traits that she really wasn't aware of until she like spent time with them, and then like they went through stuff. I'm not going to spoil how everything turns out. They help guide Aurora in how she can manipulate and use the dream against Maleficent, which is nice. It's something I do and really would like to see is with Aurora characters is, or any character in Sleeping Beauty, because it's like fairy magic. Is that only a fairy thing? Probably, yes. I digress. I'm writing a different reimagining of it, so it's more on the magical side. But anywho, she learns how to control her dream stuff against Maleficent, which gives her this huge sense of finding herself, and not just like power, but confidence, and creates a her that is both the present and the dream, but also neither. And it was a really nice turning point to have her become her own character. So without spoiling how it all ended and went down, obviously Aurora, the prince, and the three fairies do face off against Maleficent at the castle. Things happen and they live happily ever after? Question mark. It is a question mark because the ending, I kind of wanted more out of the ending. It did touch a little bit like on everybody, like where are they at now? How are they recovering from A, B, C, and D? Especially how like the princess and the prince are handling their new roles. I did like it. I always like to see a little bit more in the epilogue, just because by that point, if I enjoyed the book, I want a little bit more, just a little bit more. And it also, like, it may have touched on too many things in such a short time. So that's another reason I think the epilogue should have been a bit longer, just to really give time to what it was trying to show and not just be like, somehow we went from here to here to here all in the same day to make sure you all knew what happened. Slow it down. Slow it down, please. Otherwise, I really did enjoy Once Upon a Dream as my second read through for it. I think overall it is sitting higher in the ranking than it did initially, now that I can actually visualize things and not be distracted by the voice. Which, I don't know why. He's the only... I don't know who the narrator is. You can look it up. I think that's the only male narrator I came across in the Twisted Tale audiobooks. And he probably would have done fine if it wasn't mostly Aurora and it didn't... It gives me nightmares. Don't read the audiobook. Check out Once Upon a Dream, either as a physical copy ebook, or maybe they'll do a new audiobook version. I doubt it. But definitely worth a read if you are a Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent fan. I will say, I'll put that up here for a second. Having read this and getting different perspectives and a little bit twists on some of my quote-unquote favorite characters, because this is one of my favorite classic Disney movies. Not because Aurora herself is my favorite, because as a character, like, yeah, she's pretty, but she, aside from her little friends in the critter friends in the forest, nothing else really connects with me. But Prince Philip is my boy. I have always loved the three fairies. Like, their dynamic, their banter. They're the reason why I like the Sleeping Beauty movie. It's the fairies and the prince. Having gone through Once Upon a Dream, it makes me question things that I wasn't ready to question about, like, Prince Philip's character. Like, was he just a simple lovesick puppy? I mean, he did a lot as a prince, you know, getting kidnapped and then fighting through the castle and the Thorns and killing a dragon. So, like, he did stuff. With that being said, I am reading 2 more Sleeping Beauty related books. One being Prince of Thorns and Nightmares. I just started this one. I already like Philip because he's like, why the heck did they give her Grace and Song? That's dumb. They should have given her a bear. And I'm like, this is why you're my favorite. I hope he stays that way. And I also just finished this Mistress of All Evil, which is book 4 in this Disney series by Serena Valentino. I liked it, but also different feelings on Maleficent and the fairies. But I'm going to talk about that in a different video since this is just the Once Upon a Dream recap. So look forward to that because that's coming next because we in a Sleeping Beauty kick. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below who your favorite Disney prince is. Let me know what your prince feelings are and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.